Hello, welcome to another edition of the Paul's Body Engineering Podcast. All right, we are, as I record this, the 25th of August. Man, this year has flown by. I don't know about everybody else, but I have had a year where it has gone by incredibly fast. Just on a personal note, I'm off to India again in 2 days' time. This will be my third trip this year. Over there to judge again in the beautiful city of Hyderabad. I really do like Hyderabad. It's very cultural, very advanced, very progressive. Still has the traditional Indian cultural sort of feel to it. But yeah, definitely a more modern city and a really cool one at that. I do like it. So that'll be happening this weekend. But in the meantime, I'm going to take advantage of a little bit of time I've got before my afternoon work kicks off, and that is to deliver another podcast. And I do appreciate, firstly, everyone that does tune in. I see the numbers, they're fantastic. There's actually people from all over the world listening, which is amazing to me because, you know, this is just a little operation. It's just me. It's not run by fancy technology. You know, it doesn't go up on YouTube and Instagram with all these fancy reels and things like that. I don't have the facilities to do that. Actually, I probably couldn't even figure it out, to be honest. So if anyone knows how to do that, let me know. But it's just me talking into a microphone, my thoughts, my ideas, my knowledge, my expertise around health and fitness in general, and, you know, obviously hoping that at least one person can take something from it and have an improvement in their own life, which is, you know, the objective at the end of the day, and that's why I got into this industry all those years ago. So this week, I wanted to focus on some practical improvements and ways that you can improve your ongoing health and fitness journey, particularly if you've got someone in your corner. So if you've engaged a coach, a personal trainer, if you've got a group fitness instructor, if you train with a friend or a family member, if you are following a program online, there are so many things that you can do that can deliver better results rather than just turning up and doing the bare basics. And I think that's what some people fall victim to, and that is they think that by just going to the gym, following a program, eating better, and maybe, you know, walking further is enough. And sometimes it's not. Look, it could be, depending on your starting point, it could very well be. But often, most of the population generally have a fair understanding of what health and fitness looks like, right? From a bare basic perspective. They know you've got to eat better. They know you got to sleep better. They know you got to drink more water. They know you got to exercise. Like, these things are common knowledge and just logical to the average person. But what you can do, if you want to go from average to excellent, if you want to go from average to elite, if you want to go from average to advanced and actually take your health and fitness journey more seriously, maybe progress a little bit harder, further, test yourself, challenge yourself, turn up to the Christmas party ripped and shredded and lean and, you know, wearing your bathing suit or your bikini or your swimmers, and people go, whoa, hey, what have you been doing? You know, if you want to do that, I'm all for it. And these are some of the practical ways to improve that. Look, if you've got a coach in your corner, fantastic, because they might have already delivered some of these instructions to you. If you haven't, talk to them about it. If you are doing it on your own, this is still something that you can do. So I'm going to go through a few points here, and I encourage every single one of you that is listening to take full advantage of these. Even if you don't do them all, at least do one or two, because I guarantee you, and this is a guarantee, 100% guarantee, you'll find that you will improve. There's no doubt. So the first one is training videos. Now, I know there's a little bit of a taboo around filming in gyms. It's primarily around the use of tripods, but there's plenty of ways to work around that. You can obviously get magnet phone holders and things like that you can attach to gym equipment and film close up, and that doesn't bother people. It's the tripods because they get in the way. So filming your training or taking training videos is a crucial way to determine correct technique, positioning, tempo, effort, intensity. You might feel that you're doing everything right, but there could still be small improvements. Like I go to a commercial gym when I train, and I do observe people, like not directly, I'm not a creepy weirdo, but I do see people train from time to time, and given the industry that I work in, it's hard for me not to see poor technique, right? But obviously it's not my position to go over and correct it, but I do see it, and it's actually more often than you realize. So technique engagement, range of motion, tempo, positioning. Like small corrections can make such a big difference to recruitment. They can reduce unnecessary strain on muscles, tendons, ligaments, and you can progress with greater confidence knowing with full knowledge that you're doing it correctly. So, you may think you're doing it correctly, but a simple foot position change or grip change or elbow location change can make such a difference. Like I was talking to a client yesterday, and I won't name names, but I'd seen her a few weeks earlier doing a chest press, and she was driving through her shoulders. So she was subconsciously not aware that she was driving more through her shoulders than her chest. Now, it's obviously a chest-based exercise, so the intention was to work her chest. But because she was driving through her shoulders, it was a habit that she developed over time. And I'd noted that she was doing it again on a different exercise. And I made comment to her in her feedback. And then she started to correct it, and she realized that she was in fact doing that. And when she thought about the movement and how it felt under load, her shoulders were burning out a lot quicker and her chest wasn't worked as much. So, simple things like that where you can correct someone's technique. And obviously, in the age of online fitness coaching and technology where we can train people all over the world, training videos can help dramatically. But also, if you don't have a coach or you don't have a PT, just film yourself and have a look back. Like, have a look back at how your technique is. Because sometimes it feels okay and we think we're doing it right, but then when you actually watch the vision, you go, whoa, okay, why am I doing that? You don't realize because you can't watch yourself from different angles when you're training. So training videos can make a huge difference. They really can. Okay, the next one is nutrition. And look, this is obvious, but it is still given a lot of resistance, and that is logging your nutrition. Accurate nutrition logging gives us real information to work with. And I was talking to someone about that today who had fallen off the wagon in terms of tracking, and their comment in regards to a check-in they'd submitted was, I just got to get back into tracking. I've got to stop guessing. And that's the thing. Guessing and tracking are two very different things. Sure, you may be well versed in nutrition and understand, but you will also make inaccurate decisions based on time of the day, mood, emotion, hunger, feeling, lack of focus. Like, it's so easy to over or underestimate on something, particularly based on those scenarios. Like, if you're hungry and you're not focused too heavily on the accuracy of the food and you're guessing 100 grams of something, you could end up with 150 to 200 simply because your subconscious is telling you you need to eat more because you're hungry. All right, it's a simple fact like that. Like, it is so easy to do. So accurate logging of nutrition takes away guesswork. It eliminates error and inaccuracies. It can also help identify patterns in your intake, your protein, your meal time, and your food choices. And without it, changes are based on assumption rather than evidence. So the more evidence you've got, the more clear indication you've got. And look, no one says you have to track for the rest of your life. And I have this debate all the time. People complain to me, it's obsessive, I don't want to track, it takes up too much time. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's simply a case of being honest with yourself and knowing where your body sits with a certain amount of calories. It's knowing how much petrol you put in your car. Everyone knows how much petrol they put in their car because they generally go to the petrol station when the petrol tank is empty and they fill it up until it tells you when it's full, right? How do you know when it's full until it tells you when it's full? This is the same thing. How do you know how many calories you're consuming on a daily basis unless you track it? There's no reason why it should be that difficult, honestly, and it'll give you a lot more closer indication. Look, I go back to my original point. If you want to make improvements, you want to perform better, if you want to train harder, if you want to go from average to advanced, that is one of the key things that you need to embrace and take on board. Now, the next one is sleep. Now, sleep, and I talk to a lot of clients about this, sleep is so underrated. It is undervalued. It is pushed to the side as an important fact because we kind of live in a culture and a society of late where you can sleep when you're dead. You can grind through it. You can catch up with sleep later on. You can bank your sleep until the weekend, which is all utter bullshit, to be fair. Because at the end of the day, the more you understand how the body works, the more you understand recovery is incredibly important on a daily basis. And I'm talking recovery from obviously hard training for starters, but just mental load and stress of a general day. If you have a stressful day, a busy day, a stressful job, you've got kids coming at you, you've got things all over the place, your head's overwhelmed, maybe you're at uni, maybe you've got a physical labor job, your body needs to rest and recover, otherwise it's not going to get up and go again, or you're heading down the path. If you keep up at the rate you're going, you're heading down the path of burnout, cumulative fatigue, injury, illness, chronic illness, and who knows what from there. And now, look, I can speak from this because I've walked this path. I cooked myself at the back end of 2019 to the point where I had to be hospitalised. I was that burnt out. Lack of sleep, poor diet, lack of exercise. I just did not prioritise myself. I put everything else first. I worked my ass off, and I ended up in hospital on Christmas Day for a week. It was shit. And my poor wife had to deal with it, and I won't be doing that again, and I've learnt my lesson from that. So it is certainly something I pass on to everybody. And this relates strongly to sleep. Your sleep affects your energy, your appetite, your recovery, your mood, your training performance. If you can create a consistent bedtime, obviously remove screen time. That's a big one. So many people lie in their bed on iPads or phones before they go to bed, using it as an excuse to wind down. That's bullshit. You're keeping your brain going. It's highly active and highly sensitive. You've got to manage caffeine, so no caffeine in the afternoon. Keep your bedroom dark, keep it cool, keep the sheets clean, okay? No noise. Better sleep improves your ability to follow the plan the next day. Hey, I'm sure plenty of you who have listened to this will wake up and you'll almost do an involuntary assessment. And that assessment is, oh, geez, I could have slept a couple more hours. Or, right, I'm ready to go, let's go. And you're just up and about. There's two different ways you wake up, and they're the two, and you know when you've had a good night's sleep. And sleep, the other thing about sleep is it's not necessarily based on hours. We all seem to fall into this trap of, oh, I've got to get 8 hours sleep, or, you know, I only got 7 hours sleep last night, I need another hour. Why? Why do you need 8 hours sleep? Where does that magic number come from? The fact is, you need quality sleep, and it doesn't matter how many hours it is, as long as your body is restored. It's like plugging your phone into the charger, and the charger then tells you, or the phone tells you, right, I'm charged. It doesn't need 8 hours of charge. It just needs its battery cells to be replenished. The body is exactly the same. So you could survive potentially, in theory, or 5 hours of quality sleep against 8 hours of rubbish sleep. That's the argument. So it's important that you get quality sleep every single night, and that falls back on your sleep hygiene. Now, asking questions. This is something that a lot of people fail to do, and I really find this fascinating. I don't know if it's out of fear, out of judgment, out of feeling stupid, out of thinking that they're inferior complex. I don't know. But you know, whether you've got a coach, a trainer or not, or whether you can go onto a message board or you know, email someone, get some free advice from a trainer at the gym. You know, there's so many portals, forums, different ways to take advantage of this. And you don't need to wait until you speak to someone for clarification. Like particularly if you do have if you've engaged a coach, if you're unsure about an exercise, a meal, adjustment, recommendation, ask the question. Doesn't matter how silly it is, because at the end of the day, in order to progress, you need knowledge. You need an understanding. You need to know why you're doing what you're doing. And the sooner you understand what to do, the sooner you can take the correct action. So don't be afraid to ask questions. It doesn't matter. Like, how did you learn the job you're in? You would have asked questions, you would have studied, you would have asked more questions, and you would have got to a point where you felt confident in that space. This is no different. Ask questions. Ask more questions than you are capable of asking, because even if you understand or know the answer, at least you've got clarity around it and you can move forward with confidence. Now, the next one is pretty straightforward, but a lot of coaches don't do this, and I do it twice a year now, and that is annual reviews or biannual reviews. And a review can be a number of different ways. You can look at it from a number of different perspectives. You can catch up with an individual, talk about how their first 6 months of the year has gone, what they've done well, because often clients in particular suffer from what we call recency bias. So they're looking at their progress from the last couple of weeks of data that they recall or that they can see on the screen. They don't look back over the bigger picture. They don't span out. They don't, scale back and look at the bigger picture and look at the progress they've made in 6 months. So by doing a review, you can actually do that. Now, along with that, you can obviously dive deeper if you need to in terms of getting blood work done, injury assessment, general medical reviews, things like that may need to be addressed that have been put off. So something like an annual review or biannual review is really important, and it carries with it a lot of weight, and that will also inspire the individual to further progress in the back end of the year. So for me personally, I do them around June, July, and then obviously over December where possible. And that just gives that person another touch point, another opportunity to work on where they're at, and obviously make any necessary adjustments they need to make. Now, the next one is I speak about this a lot, and it's a game changer if you truly want to have progression in the gym. If you are going into the gym, following a program with intent, trying to put on some muscle, trying to get stronger, trying to change your composition, but you're not following the laws of progressive overload, well, guess what? You're probably not making anywhere near the progress you potentially could. It's as simple as that, and I'm sorry to say that a lot of the time, if you just download a program that tells you to do 3 sets of 12 and 3 sets of 10 and things like that, you're not going to progress because subconsciously, you're always going to favour something comfortable. Subconsciously, you're always going to lift something that you know you can lift, not that will test you. And that's the difference. Progressive overload involves gradually improving your weight, repetitions, technique, range of motion, or control over the course of a program and beyond, right? Recording your training allows you to make deliberate progress instead of repeating the same performance every week. If you go in and repeat the same performance every week, what do you do when you do the same thing over and over again? You get the same result. If you go in with the intent to improve, where you're trying to lift 1 kilo heavier, you're trying to do 1 more rep, you're constantly looking back at your previous load and sets for the benchmark that you set in the previous week to better that, or at least as a bare minimum equal it, then you are progressively overloading, because you will always make progress if you're thinking that way and acting that way. If you're just going in and going through the motions and you're not really focused or tracking your training or focused on improving in that capacity, that is fine if that's what you want to do. If you just want to turn up to the gym and feel good, great. But if you're wanting to actually see and feel progress, see progress on the scale, see progress in your clothes fitting better, see progress in your muscles developing, in progress in your composition changing, progress in your strength metrics going up, then you have to, it's a non-negotiable, you have to progressively overload. If you're unsure as to how that looks, send me a message and I'll send you a link to a video on how that can be detailed to you a lot more, because I guarantee you it's a game changer. For me, I've been doing, a lot of people who follow me on Instagram know that I do Smith machine pedal rows every Friday without fail. Okay, that's kind of a thing that I do, and I've been doing it now for over a year, every Friday for a year. So yes, I roll 8-week programs, but I keep the same exercise in that 8 weeks for the majority of the time, unless I'm sort of working around injuries or things like that. And pedal rows haven't changed. Every Friday, first exercise, 3 sets of 8, and that has been a staple for over 12 months now. And I have lifted or progressively gotten better with my lifts in terms of load and movement. So I've gone, I think I was in the 60 kilos when I first started, might have even been 50s. I'm now over 100 in terms of what I'm lifting per rep. And that just goes to show that progressive overload is actually working for me on that particular movement. Now, I do this across all my exercises, but in that instance, I was naturally looking at ways to improve. So it was either go up by a rep on a certain set, maybe 2 sets within the 3 sets, or even 3 sets. And then when I'd get to, say, I'd go start at 8, I'd go to 9, I'd get to 10, and then I think, okay, I've increased by 6 reps total across the 3 sets. I might try and increase the load here. So I'll put 1.25 on either end, go back to 8 reps, and then slowly progressively overload again. And it's a game changer, guys. It really is. It can massively improve your ability to progress and change your physique by simply thinking about that every single lift you do. All right. And the final one, and this one goes without saying, it's pretty straightforward and common, particularly if you are a client of a coach with a check-in process. You need to check in on time. Your check-in obviously is there to assess progress, identify patterns, make changes when required, but you've got to commit to submitting it on time. I have this issue a lot, and I think a lot of coaches do. And often the submission doesn't come on time because the individual's had a poor week. But that's the point of the check-in. This is the ironic thing of this whole situation, is that we want you to check in. If you've had a shitty week, if you've had a poor week, if you've had an unproductive week, if you've had an unmotivated week, if you've had a week where things have gone completely astray and you've had no time to do anything, we still want that check-in submitted, because it gives you an opportunity to reflect and actually absorb how the week's gone rather than keep it surface level. And it gives the coach an opportunity to look at your data, look at your information, look at what you've submitted, and offer assistance. Okay, they can provide feedback, even if it's surface level, even if it's only to one point, it is still there. But what you're doing is you're sticking to your habit. You're keeping your routine. You're keeping your commitment to the check-in process going, irrespective of how that looks, okay? Feedback only produces results when it's put into practice. So firstly, you've got to check in on time. Secondly, you've got to listen to the feedback on time. Don't let feedback go 3 or 4 days, okay? Firstly, the information is going to be irrelevant because time has lapsed. But secondly, you know that your feedback is coming in, okay? Whether it's same day or 24 hours later, you know that it's coming in. So set some time aside and actually listen to it and absorb the information, because I can guarantee you from my perspective, coaches put a lot of effort into feedback, okay? They don't just sit there and waffle off crap. They actually put a lot of effort and emphasis into reviewing everyone's data. They take a lot of time. Like, you don't actually appreciate the time before the message comes through, right? There's probably, it could be anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes, maybe even longer of review and analysis before the information comes to hand. So it's really important that you take on the check-in, you listen to the feedback, you implement the change, and guess what? If you implement the change straight away, you're going to see progress. There's no doubt about it. So honor the check-in, be respectful, and take on board everything that's delivered, because at the end of the day, that's why you're hiring someone is for them to offer you assistance. And this is one of the best ways to do that. Now, a couple more points. Be open to change. This is something that a lot of people have a roadblock with. They don't like change, and I'll be the first to admit I hate change. I hate it. I hate change because I'm so comfortable in my ways. But your plan will sometimes need to change as your body goals, schedule, and circumstances change. So an exercise may need to be replaced, calories may need to be adjusted, or your expectations simply may need to be reviewed. You need to stay flexible and judge changes by their purpose, not by how familiar they feel. So as much as you want to stay familiar with what you're doing and be comfortable, sometimes change is good. Sometimes change is needed. If you've been spinning your wheels for 12 months and you haven't seen any progress, maybe you do need to do something different, because clearly what you're doing isn't working. So be open to change. Now, a simple one, walk more. You know, walking, I can't sell walking enough. Like, I do it daily because I've got a dog that I need to walk, but what I do when I walk the dog is I walk the dog in a really nice area. So we live near a lake, there's great footpaths, and obviously when the weather's nice, it's just beautiful to be out in the sun, feel the sun on your skin, walk at a brisk pace, allow the dog to do its thing. But it's so good to clear your mind. Like, sometimes I'll listen to podcasts, sometimes I'll just listen to the sounds of whatever's going on around me. But it's great to break up the day and clear your mind. And research has shown that if you walk in nature regularly, your mental health can improve significantly. It also supports cardiovascular health, energy expenditure, digestion, stress management, recovery, and as I said, I just jumped over my words, energy expenditure. I go back to that point because you'll burn calories, okay? It's an easy way, it's a low impact way to burn calories. You add walking onto what you're already doing, guess what? You're going to burn more calories. Therefore, if you're trying to lose fat, this is a great way to do it. So keep walking going, and don't give me the I don't have time rubbish. That's crap. That is crap. You do have time, you just got to prioritize it. Now, own your choices. Owning your choices. You will not make the perfect decision every time. What matters is taking responsibility and responding constructively. Don't blame other things. Don't blame your schedule. Don't blame work. Don't blame other people. Stop making excuses. Acknowledge your choice and learn from it. If you decide to have a glass of wine on a Friday night, own it. If you've decided to go out and have hot wings and chips and cocktails down at the local bar to watch the footy, own it. Stop hiding away from it. Stop saying, oh, I didn't drink that much when you had, 6 cocktails and 2 glasses of wine. Like, own it. Just be honest. Because when you're honest, you're going to progress a hell of a lot more, because you're going to actually understand where you're at any given time, okay? Really important, because if you sit it subconsciously and pretend it didn't happen, there's no progress to be made from dishonesty or not acknowledging where you're at any given time. Learn from it, make a better decision next time if that is what you want to do. Look, that goes to in terms of choices, but also be honest with your nutrition. Unreported snacks, drinks, larger portions, weekend meals. Honesty is not about being judged. I'm not going to judge someone if they're honest. If they've had a crappy weekend and they've turned to food to manage that, at least I know that they're okay. At least I know where they sit. At least I know why there's a weight spike or an increase in measurements, because you're opening the door to honesty and transparency. And that is one of the first things I say when someone checks in. Be honest, be transparent. The only way this is going to be successful is if you take ownership of your decisions and you be honest at your check-in points. All right, only a couple more to go. Rest days. Rest days are incredibly important. Now, I touched on sleep earlier. This is the same. We kind of think about the process of progression and fat loss and anything along those lines as do more and achieve more. So train heaps and achieve more, but you need to have rest days. Your body gets put under tremendous stress when you're weight training, and irrespective whether it's weight training or running or spin class or Muay Thai or whatever it is incredibly stressful. Rest days allow your muscles, your joints, your nervous system to recover. If they can't recover, it leads to more stress on the body, and your body will not relinquish body fat. I'm here to tell you, recovery can improve performance, reduce fatigue, help you train with greater quality across the week. Prioritize your rest days. I cannot stress that enough. All right, finally, one more that is often overlooked is self-care. Self-care supports consistency. It includes setting boundaries, preparing meals, spending time outside. I spoke about walking before, reducing unnecessary stress, or making time for activities you enjoy. I ask you this question: what do you do to fill your cup? What fills your cup? What gives you satisfaction? What's something that makes you really, really happy? Is it watching a movie or going to the movies? Is it walking on the beach? Is it spending time with a friend, getting a coffee? Is it walking your dog? Is it getting your nails done? Is it getting your hair done? Is it getting a massage? Is it hanging out with the boys and playing around the golf? What is it that fills your cup? Because that is something that you should be doing more often. Not once every 6 months, but every so often, more frequently than what you're currently doing, because that supports consistency. It supports good mental health. It looks after yourself. It helps you maintain physical and mental energy required to follow any given plan and get through every single day. So it is incredibly important. It breaks away from the monotony of what you're doing. It allows you to disconnect. It removes stress. It keeps you calm. It supports your nervous system, as I said. It is fundamentally important and should be prescribed by every bloody doctor on the planet as far as I'm concerned. So I think that covers everything. My throat is drying up, so you must excuse me. I think that covers everything that I wanted to touch on today in terms of progression and how you can get better results with your weekly actions. And I'll go through these briefly again just to touch on them. Sending training videos or recording training videos, log your nutrition, improve your sleep, ask questions, complete a review, apply progressive overload to your weight training, check in on time and listen to your feedback on time. Be open to change. Walk more, particularly outside. Own your choices and decisions. Take rest days. Practice self-care. And finally, don't be afraid to ask for help. We don't all know everything. As much as we'd like to think so, we're not a teenager thinking that we know everything. If you are struggling with motivation, nutrition, training, stress, or schedule, communicate before the issue gets worse. Ask for help is part of being coached. So you may be listening to this and go, I can't afford coaching, but can you afford to keep doing what you're doing? Answer that question honestly to yourself, okay? Because if you invest in yourself, guess what? You're going to become more efficient. You're going to become clearer. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be able to do everything in your life better, which means you will see progress and you'll be able to return the investment you made because you are more efficient in everything that you do. So my argument is always, it is the best investment you'll make. Your health should be number one. All right, I'll wind up there before I choke. Look, I thank everyone for listening today. This was a longer one than usual, but it covers a lot, and I think it is very, very important that we understand the benefits of being coached, the benefits of receiving feedback, the benefits of implementing change, the benefits of progressive overload. All these things can massively change your way of health and fitness, but you've just got to do it yourself. You've got to take on action. You've got to be prepared and open to these sorts of things. And if you do it, as I said at the very start, I will 100% guarantee you will see some results. There's no doubt about it. So thank you once again. Really appreciate it. If you're interested in any of my coaching services, of course, please jump on paulsbodyengineering.com. Go to the Contact Us page or jump on Instagram and send me a DM, of course. and I'll be happy to obviously arrange a free consultation and just chat to you further about your needs and whether any of these things can be implemented into your daily life and your weekly regime. But as I say to every client, every single day, once again, thank you very much and have a great day.